What if it's possible to make your dreams come true? What if this life is just a game and you can master it? What if one day, at the end of your life, you will regret not being braver? What if one day you'll regret being constantly stressed and anxious? If you are ready to master your life, then this video is for you. Every day, you see the world through your own ideas about what can or cannot happen. Have you ever thought about how you might be limiting yourself? It's like if you only believe in what you already know and refuse to change or grow. But something amazing happens when you start imagining the person you want to become. It's like flicking a switch in your brain. You begin to create new pathways, like little roads that make you more like that person you dream of being. It's like your brain is a map, and you're drawing new routes to your goals. Imagine if you could make yourself feel the way you want to feel, even before you reach your goals. Like, if you want to feel rich, you could start feeling that way right now. And when you feel powerful, you start moving closer to success. And if you love yourself and your life, you start changing everything around you for the better. This isn't just a big idea. It's because of a special part of your brain called the frontal lobe. It helps you focus and ignore distractions, so you can turn your dreams into reality. Imagine yourself right now, reading these words, feeling totally calm and focused. The chair you're sitting on fades away, any discomfort in your shoulders melts away, and the world around you seems unimportant. All you hear is your own inner voice, clear and peaceful. Think of your brain like an orchestra, with the frontal lobe as the conductor. It's in charge of making sure everything works together smoothly. This part of your brain is where your conscious choices come from. It's like the control center of your true self. The frontal lobe helps us rise above our instincts and emotions. It lets us make decisions based on reason, not just feelings. Without it, we'd be controlled by outside influences and our past experiences, stuck in survival mode. But when we use our frontal lobe to make intentional choices, we break free from that cycle. We become the ones in control, not just reacting to what happens around us. This ability to think beyond our emotions is what sets us apart as humans. Imagine when your body slows down and you start feeling really relaxed. It's like time stretches out and moments feel longer. This happens especially when you're in that half-asleep, half-awake state. You can actually learn to control this feeling. And when you do, it helps your body find its balance again, calming down stress and making you feel amazing, full of energy, happiness, and clear thinking. It's like your brain starts working in sync, all the different parts coming together perfectly. You feel whole, like you found yourself. So you have the power to shape your future by tapping into your brain and consciousness. It starts with a simple act, just closing your eyes and imagining the person you want to become. I truly believe that who you are shapes your reality. But here's the catch. Most of our thoughts are just repeats of what we thought yesterday. That means we're stuck in the same patterns, making the same choices, and feeling the same way over and over again. It's like we're trapped in a never-ending story. But the good news is, we can change that. By breaking free from those old thought patterns, we can rewrite our story. It's all about rewiring our brains to think differently, so we can become the people we want to be. Surprisingly, by the time we're halfway through life, most of who we are, about 95%, is made up of stuff we do without even thinking. It's like we're on autopilot, doing the same things and feeling the same way over and over again. These habits and feelings become so normal that we hardly even notice them anymore. But sometimes it takes a big wake-up call, a crisis, a tough time, or hitting rock bottom to make us realize we need to change. In those vulnerable moments, we step back and really look at ourselves. We see past the surface and start paying attention to our thoughts, actions, and feelings. That's where meditation comes in. It's all about getting to know yourself better. When we become more aware of our thoughts and feelings, we can start to change them. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. We see things we never noticed before. And it's important to remember that this isn't a sign of failure. It's actually a sign of progress. Facing those hidden thoughts and feelings is the first step to making real change, but it takes a lot of effort and focus to break free from old habits and ways of thinking. Instead of just reacting to what happens around us, we can choose how we want to think and feel, using our environment to help us grow. Meditation gives us a break from our everyday surroundings. It's like pressing pause on our senses: sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing. We take a moment to set aside our body's usual reactions and explore something new. It's like stepping into uncharted territory within ourselves. One thing that makes humans special is our free will. We can make choices based on what we truly want. And our frontal lobe, a part of our brain, plays a big role in this. It helps us make conscious choices that aren't just dictated by our past experiences. When we rely too much on our memories to make decisions, we're not using our frontal lobe to its full potential. But when we face choices that go beyond what we already know, our frontal lobe really shines. It's like it wakes up and starts working at its best. That's when we're truly making choices based on what we want, not just what we remember. Research has shown us some fascinating things about the frontal lobe, the part of our brain involved in making choices. It turns out that the frontal lobe really stands out when we're faced with decisions that aren't black and white. Instead of clear right or wrong answers, we're dealing with situations where personal preference and enjoyment come into play. Dr. Elkanan Goldberg, a respected professor, conducted some cool experiments to explore this. In one, people were shown symbols and asked to pick which picture they preferred, with no right or wrong answers. He tested two groups, one with no brain issues and another with various brain injuries. The results were eye-opening. People with damage to their frontal lobe struggled to make choices based on their preferences, while others did just fine. In another test, participants with frontal lobe damage were asked to choose responses similar or different from a target. Interestingly, when the choices were clear-cut, everyone did equally well, whether their frontal lobes were damaged or not. These experiments teach us two important things. Firstly, the frontal lobe really kicks in when we're making decisions in tricky situations with many possible outcomes. And secondly, when decisions are simple, the frontal lobe isn't as crucial. It appears that when we're making decisions based on whether something is right or wrong, our brain doesn't need to work as hard. This study showed that when we rely on what we already know and the patterns in our brain, we're not really using our free will. Even though we might think we're freely choosing, we're actually just following the same old paths in our brain. Think about how often we make simple decisions in our daily lives, like choosing between two options, picking a side, or deciding if something is good or bad. Are these choices making us act like our frontal lobes aren't working properly? It seems like when we're faced with familiar situations, our brain automatically goes to the patterns it knows best, and we end up acting without really thinking. This is where things like advertising come into play. Companies use it to get us to remember their products, so when we need something, we automatically reach for what's familiar. But true free will means stepping out of those familiar patterns and considering new possibilities. It takes effort to break out of those old habits wired into our brains. When our frontal lobe isn't fully engaged, we're just reacting based on what we already know, without truly making a choice. So often we end up choosing what's familiar instead of exploring new ideas that our frontal lobe can offer us. Taking the easy route, the one we already know, might not need much brain power from our frontal lobe. But how often are we really making choices freely? And how often are we just following habits we've formed? When we stick to what's comfortable and known, Our brain's frontal lobe doesn't get much action, and neither do we. But when we step out of our comfort zones and face uncertain choices, that's when our frontal lobe wakes up and starts working. It's like our brain's way of saying, hey, let's think about this. So next time you're making a decision, think about the power of your frontal lobe. Challenge yourself to consider new ideas beyond what you're used to. That's when real free will kicks in, and you open yourself up to endless possibilities for change and growth. Your choices have the power to shape your future, and your frontal lobe is your secret weapon for a brighter tomorrow. If you found this video helpful and insightful, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more content like this. And if you think others could benefit from this information, be sure to share this video with your friends and family. Your support helps us grow and reach more people. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.